What is up, YouTube and all you Dolphins fans? It's the Miami Football Fanatic here again, and currently, as it stands, we're at the quarter point of the season, and the Dolphins have a bye week this week, obviously. So I thought it'd be a perfect time to run through the team and just give my opinion on where the players stand through 4 weeks. So let's start with the most important position in the sport, and that's quarterback. We'll start here with the current starter, Josh Rosen. It's been an up and down 2 starts for Rosen the past 2 weeks. There's been moments out there where you're reminded why he was such a highly touted prospect coming out of UCLA. You know, why he started as a true freshman. He's thrown the ball with great accuracy in spots, and he's done a nice job escaping pressure in the pocket. And he's made plays that just really show off the arm talent that he possesses. He's got undeniable talent. You can just see that he can. I mean, he's not as great as a Russell Wilson or a Mahomes, but he can make things happen when when the play breaks down and when the offensive line just gives up pressure from everywhere. But overall, it's been an up and down roller coaster for Rosen. He's thrown a couple of poor interceptions. He's been holding onto the ball for too long in spots, and throwing easy passes with just questionable accuracy and timing. But the offense has performed much better compared to weeks 1 and 2. Rosen and the offense have just got to do a better job carrying over the success they've been having in the first half of games into the second half, and just really want to see Rosen put together a full 60 minutes of solid QB play where they're just constantly moving the chains, and Chad O'Shea is free to call whatever he pleases. So on to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick's performance this season has been nothing short of tragic. I guess you could call him Fitz-tragic. But obviously, it all doesn't fall on his shoulders. He had no chance with the offensive line, constantly giving up pressure and just never giving Fitzpatrick a chance to, basically make something happen. He had some decent throws when he did have time in the pocket, but it simply just wasn't good enough. And obviously the team moved on to Rosen after 2 games. So moving on to running back, Kenyan Drake. He was somewhat of an afterthought the first 2 weeks of the season. With the run game struggling mightily, Drake, he didn't see much burn at all. Week 3, his workload was upped a little with 12 carries, but he really didn't make much of an impact at all. Week 4 against the Chargers, in my opinion, is when he finally made a mark on the season. Drake was making guys miss in the run game, and he was finding open running lanes consistently. And in the passing game, he was catching the ball well, and he was making multiple defenders miss in the open field. So that was great to see against the Chargers. Kenyan, he really hasn't been great this season, but now that this coaching staff has seen, what he can do and what he's capable of, I'm sure that his workload will increase as we move along here. On to Kalen Ballage. Kalen Ballage has been very disappointing a quarter of the way through the season. I'm sure you would all agree. He never makes the first man miss. He always goes down by first contact. I mean, it's like he's not even 6'2", 230 pounds. It's like he's a 5'10", 195-pound running back. I mean, the guy just can't run anyone over, and just he hasn't been, bringing the thump that you'd expect from a guy his size. I'm just really hoping during the bye week he can work to mitigate his mistakes and just build on his confidence, so he can just be a serviceable back for us for the offense and the rest of the season. Mark Walton, he's been pretty limited through 4 games, carrying the ball 10 times. With the staff, electing to give the majority of the rushes to Drake and Ballage. But in his limited carries, you can really see the burst. I love his acceleration, and he's got a great ability to make guys miss. If Ballage continues to struggle, we will definitely be seeing much more of Walton, and the guy definitely is very talented. Patrick Laird and Miles Gaskin, we really haven't seen them at all. I'm pretty sure they're on special teams. I'm pretty sure they're on special teams, but Patrick Laird, I'm a big fan of that guy. I think he just does a great job. You can just tell that he knows what he's doing. Um, he breaks tackles very well, and I just didn't think that he was that kind of running back. Like when you watched him during the preseason, he looked like a poor man's, Christian McCaffrey. He had nice speed. Guys were bouncing off him, and he was doing great in the running game and the passing game. So really excited for what Patrick led can give the team in the future. And the Dolphins obviously see something in him, because I'm pretty sure he's not on the practice squad. He's on, the 53-man roster. So, no one can snatch him up if he was on the practice squad. So on to fullback, Chandler Cox. He really hasn't seen any action at all this season, as the Dolphins just really haven't elected to show any of their power run sets that feature a fullback, or for, any running plays that feature a fullback at all. Hopefully Chandler Cox can get, much more involved in the offense as the season progresses. He's a versatile offensive piece that can just really play a number of spots in the offense. He's listed as a tight end on the team's website. I'm sure that's an error, but he can play fullback, and he can play tight end, and he can definitely play H-back. Alrighty, so moving on to wide receiver. Starting here with Preston Williams, 6'5", rookie receiver out of Colorado State, has absolutely immense talent. His releases are already advanced and nuanced. He's got a great understanding of just how to beat the corner coming out of his stance. His route running is pretty good at this point, but he'll definitely continue to get better. But he really does a great job coming in and out of his breaks for a guy his size. He's got tremendous hands, concentration, and he's got an elite catch radius. He has had some timely drops that definitely could have turned the tide of games, especially against Dallas when he had that fumbled catch against Dallas in the end zone. I really think that was a touchdown, but obviously Preston's just got to bring that in, and that would have helped the momentum of the game. But if Preston can just cut down on the drop passes and just continue to improve as a receiver, the sky truly is a limit for this man. He really has it all, and just a 6'5" receiver that can just really do special things at his size. He really is going to be an elite talent in the NFL, and maybe even develop into one of the best receivers in the league. That's the kind of talent that I really think he has. On to Devante Parker. Devante Parker has really done a great job this year catching deep contested passes. He's been averaging around 20 yards a catch, and he's been outleaping opponents and just using his size to his advantage. He had a tremendous play against the Ravens. Fitzpatrick threw it deep. He had two defenders just draped all over him, and he just went up, high pointed the ball. You saw that great leaping ability and just the athleticism, and he just went up and just dominated the two defenders and pulled in a 50-yard reception. And just that play right there just, personifies the kind of talent that we all know Devante Parker has. I mean, we've seen it through his first 4 years in the league. He can do that at just whenever he wants, and if he stays healthy, it's going to be perfect for the team. And if he stays healthy, through the whole season and just continues, to catch, 4, 5, 6 passes a game, it'll be perfect. He'll be fulfilling, just a small amount of the huge potential that we all know that he has. Onto Jakeem Grant. Jakeem just hasn't made much of an impact in the passing game. He's only caught 10 passes on the season, and they've all been short catches. He's averaging well below 10 yards a catch. I really love Jakeem as a receiver. I'm just hoping that he'll get more targets moving forward. He really can play bigger than his frame. He's a 5'7" receiver, but he's a tremendous athlete. We've seen in years past how this guy can just go up and catch the football, like we saw 2 years against the Patriots when he absolutely dominated Malcolm Butler and went up and caught a touchdown. But with guys like Preston Williams and Devante Parker, I just really think it's going to be hard for Jakeem Grant to show those talents. I really think that this coaching staff just, wants to use him as an underneath receiver. A guy, kind of like in the Julian Edelman mold, and just a guy that, gets you, short completions. And Jakeem, he really has yet to pop in the return game, both on punts and kick returns. He miffed a punt, and overall just hasn't performed like he did last year on special teams. Last year he was great returning kicks. I think he averaged nearly 30 yards a kick return, and returning punts he was great. He averaged more than 15 yards a return, and that might be a result of Darren Rizzi leaving. Jakeem kind of struggling on special teams, but hopefully he can come back to form and just be that electric returner that we all know he can be. On to Albert Wilson. Wilson, he's been injured and limited. He's only appeared in one game against the Ravens. I really am hoping he can get healthy, as I believe that Wilson's skill set, it really is perfect for this offense. Just given his ability to turn short completions into chunk plays, just with his great speed and his tackle breaking talents, he really is like a great running back when he gets the ball in his hands. He's got tremendous balance, and just that he's got that thick base. He's got, I'm sure if you've watched enough Dolphins games or Albert Wilson in the past, he's got gigantic legs, and that just allows him to break a lot of tackles. Alan Hurns, he's been even more limited than Jakeem Grant. He's caught 3 receptions this whole season. The biggest moment for Alan Hurns was against Dallas when he just got absolutely clobbered by their safety. Just terrible to see, just a player getting hit straight to the helmet like that. You can just tell he was just like, oh shit, and he just lay back on his back. And Alan Hurns, wishing that he can come back as healthy as possible, but when you take a hit like that, he should rest for at least a month or 2 months. Really are hoping for the best from Alan Hurns. And Brian Flores seems to like him. He seems to like his professionalism and his intelligence. Flores has said that he knows what he's doing, and he's incredibly professional. So, that's a great guy to have around the young receivers that we have, like Preston Williams and Devante. Isaiah Ford, he finally was promoted from the practice squad, and he caught a timely third down completion. And Isaiah Ford, I really think he's a tremendously, talented receiver. Not on the level of Preston Williams, but the guy, he can just play. He ran a 4.7 like Jarvis Landry, but this guy just knows how to go up and just win 50-50 balls and make things happen as a receiver. So moving on to tight end, we'll start here with Mike Gesicki. So Mike Gesicki, he hasn't improved incredibly this season, but you definitely can see improvements in his game. He's doing a much better job just getting open and just finding ways to make himself useful in the offense. And it's just great to see that the coaching staff is just using him to his strengths. They're not keeping him in, on pass blocking assignments. He isn't, blocking in line. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing, and that's catching the football. Even though he hasn't had a great impact in that regard. He's got 6 receptions on the season and 50 yards, but he's doing what his strengths are, and that's just being a dynamic athlete out there, and just trying to help in the passing game. Hopefully things will click for Mike Gesicki, because this guy, he's an incredible athlete. He's got a 40+ inch vertical. He's got great hands. The guy, he really can catch the ball. And just really am hoping that it can click for him, because if he starts playing the way we think he can be like a Travis Kelce or a I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. Another dynamic tight end around the league. On to Durham Smythe. Durham Smythe, same as Gesicki, he's been used to his strengths. whenever there's a positive, running play, it always seems like Durham Smythe's, involved in the play. Just does a great job just shoring up the edge and just, allowing the running backs to take running lanes. He really does play like an offensive lineman. That's how good he is at blocking. That's what I read a lot about Durham Smythe when he was coming out, of the draft. A lot of people said that he was like a sixth offensive lineman, and he's a great blocker, and he can give you some catches on offense here and there. But luckily, they're using him to his strengths. That is something that's something that I haven't brought up yet. This coaching staff is just doing a great job putting these players in positions to succeed. They're not forcing them to do things that they're not great at. Something that Coach Gase would do constantly and would just get, pissed off, and patience would run short, and guys would get, thrown into the doghouse, if they wouldn't do things the way Gase wanted it done, or the coaching staff, or, Matt Burke, that idiot. But, yeah, that is just something that's great to see. Nick O'Leary, he's kind of our best dual threat at the moment. I mean, he's not a great tight end. He can catch the ball, and he's a good blocker as well. And he's just a solid role player that does his job and does it well. Alrighty, so moving on to the offensive line. We'll start here with Jesse Davis. Jesse Davis, he's played 3 games, and for whatever reason, those starts have been at left tackle because, we've got no one else to put there after the Tunsil trade. Jesse Davis with the Dolphins has played, predominantly, on the right side. He started at right guard. He started at right tackle, and for whatever reason, they thought that, he'd be the best guy to move, to left tackle. And, at moments, he has looked good, and he has gotten beat bad at times as well, but I mean, he's been solid overall. Jamarcus Webb, I've been kind of pleased with him. I really think that he kind of came in and just helped to, somewhat shore up the offensive line. His first start was at right tackle, and I think he was pretty solid there. And last week, against the Chargers, he moved to left tackle after the Jesse Davis injury, and he was pretty solid there as well. The offensive line really as a whole, played well against the Chargers. On to Michael Dieter, the rookie from Wisconsin. He's been very solid, and he's played well for a rookie. He has had his mishaps here and there, but overall, you can see the talent as an offensive lineman, and he really did an admirable job against the Cowboys when he moved out to left tackle. I mean, he was getting, beat by, Robert Quinn pretty consistently when he moved that to left tackle, but that just showed, what kind of guts and, determination he has as an offensive lineman. But at left guard, he's been pretty solid. He's a good pass blocker, and he definitely can improve in the running game. But overall, I think that we might have a starter on the offensive line for many years to come. Michael Dieter definitely is going to be a starter on the interior for a while. Chris Reed, we haven't seen much of Chris Reed at all. I'm not sure why he's fallen out of favour. He did come over from the Jaguars with our old offensive line coach, so I'm sure there's some kind of a connection there, where he was in favour with the old O-line coach, and now the new O-line coach, isn't a fan of him. So, but Chris Reed, I really think he's a talented offensive lineman. He's a guy that can play right guard, left guard, or center, and that versatility is something that you always need. Daniel Kilgore, he's been solid. I mean, he's not an outstanding center. He's no Jason Kelsey. He's no, Marquise Pouncey, or, Mike Pouncey even. He's just a solid veteran that is definitely bringing veteran leadership to that offensive line and to the locker room. On to Evan Boehm. This guy has played great the last 2 weeks. He's definitely been a big reason why the offensive line has been pretty solid the last 2 weeks. He's done a nice job, getting out into open space and just making things happen. And we'll see how things go moving forward. But he looks like a tough, smart, physical football player. Danny Isidora um, came over from a trade, I think from the Colts as well. I think it was the Colts. I can't remember at this point. But, I mean, Evan Boehm is definitely a much better offensive lineman. Shaq Calhoun, I mean, he hasn't played much at all. He's had some snaps here and there. But, yeah, I haven't got much of an opinion on Shaq Calhoun at the moment. Julian Davenport, for that matter, I've got a huge opinion on. That guy sucks. I mean, he's got penalties constantly, holding penalties, false starts. He gave up, an incredible amount of sacks last season with the Texans, and I think he led the league in penalties for an offensive lineman. So I really think he sucks, and thank God he's on injured reserve. I mean, you never want to see a guy get injured, but he sucks. We should cut him. Isaiah Prince, he did start this past week at right tackle against the Chargers, and I really liked what I saw from him. He looks like a big, huge physical tackle. He's 6'7", 320 pounds. It just really looks the part. He looks big, athletic. He's got long arms. But in the running game was just where he really butted his bread. He's just tremendous in the running game. He really does a great job getting out and just using his physicality. There was one play there on Melvin Ingram where he just completely blew him up, and Kenyan Drake ran for like 9 or 8 yards or something like that. But at this point, he isn't great in the passing game. I really like the way he comes out of his stance. His kick slide is incredibly fast, and you can just see the athleticism. But the Dolphins really did a great job just helping him this past game, just chipping defenders and, just giving him a chance out there against Melvin Ingram. And I can't remember if he blocked Joey Bosa, but actually, yeah, he did. But he did a good job on, just two of the best pass rushers in the league. Okay, so that's it for the offense. Let's move on to the defense here, and we'll start with the big man up front, the interior defensive line. The Dolphins' base defense has been a 3-4, so, the interior is, made up of defensive tackles and 3-4 DNs. But starting here with Devon Gotchaw, he's been mostly a nose tackle in this defense, and he's done a tremendous job of that. The guy, you can just see him in the running game. He's an absolute force. He does a great job getting off blocks. You can just see the sheer power and the strength. The guy he can hold up double teams. He can beat double teams, and just in the running game, he really is as good as it gets. At least for this team at the moment. But Devon Gotchaw, you'd like to see him, get some more pressure, on passing downs. But at the moment, he's playing the role that the team has for him, and that's to be a nose tackle, to eat up blocks, and be a force in the running game. On to Christian Wilkins, our first-round pick from this year. You can just see the physical talent with this guy. He's talented all across the board. He's a highly intelligent guy, and he's a player that can just play all along the defensive line. He's played nose tackle, he's played defensive end, he's played, tackle. He's played a bit of end at times, but you can just see the strength and the power as well with Christian Wilkins. He's not the same force that, Devon Gotchaw is in the running game, but Christian Wilkins, you can see that he can definitely develop into the full package as a defensive tackle, a guy that can hold up in the run game, a guy that just brings effort and just, chases down ball carriers, consistently, and also a guy that can, bring some pressure in the passing game. And, I can definitely see him turning into a tremendous defensive tackle for us, moving on with this rebuild. And I think he'll be a nice, foundational piece for this defense as we look to build this stripped-down roster. John Jenkins, he had a great moment against the Patriots where he took, it wasn't Marcus Cannon, it was the other, I can't remember at this point, but it was their right guard, and he just took him and just blew him up and pushed him straight into Brady, and he got a sack on that play. It was like, whoa, where the hell did that come from? But ever since that point, he really hasn't done much more, and hoping that, we can see some, production from the guy moving forward. Alrighty, so on to defensive ends or 3-4 outside linebackers. Charles Harris really has been a real disappointment. I really liked what I saw from him during the preseason. He looked to really turn the corner. He looked like he was just pass rushing with power and speed, and I really thought that he was going to be in the backfield, consistently this season, but that really hasn't been the case. And Charles Harris, hopefully he can come back after the bye a much, more improved and hungry player. We really haven't seen it from him. Avery Moss has had some nice moments. He's played better than Charles Harris. Avery Moss definitely is versatile. He can play on the inside or the outside of the D line, and he has made some nice plays here and there. And Brian Flores is a fan. Taco Charlton, he's had 2 sacks the last 2 games, so he's shown some nice versatility. Other than the sacks, he really hasn't had much, pass rushing productivity in terms of, pressures and just making the quarterback uncomfortable. But he has gotten 2 sacks, and for defensive ends, that's the most important stat. And the coaching staff really likes him. Patrick Graham is a fan. He said that he always wanted to coach him after he met him at the combine. And Brian Flores is a fan as well. They really think that he can be a nice piece for them in this defense moving forward. Jonathan Ledbetter, he only played in 1 game. He played pretty well against the Ravens, considering that was a 40-point blowout. But he had a half a sack in that game. But Jonathan Ledbetter, even more than Avery Moss, he's incredibly versatile. 280-pound defensive lineman. He plays well on the inside and the outside, and just he was a great find for this team, and I really think that he's going to be a nice role player for this defense moving forward. Vince Biegel, we traded for him with the Saints in the Kiko Alonso trade, and it's so funny, they just gave Kiko Alonso's number off straight away. They gave it straight to Biegel, and Biegel, I really like what I've seen from him in terms of pass rushing. I really think that he's a nice pass rusher. I think he's got nice power for a guy his size. I think he's like 255 pounds, 250 or something. But for a guy his size, he pass rushes really well. And I think he's going to be a nice player on this defense. Andrew Van Ginkel was put on injured reserve, and that's been a real shame, because I really think that he's a guy that can just be, a true like dual threat defensive player. I really think that he can play D end, and I think he can play linebacker, out in space, like an inside or outside linebacker, something like that, in a 4-3 mold. And you can just see he's a great athlete and he's got great intelligence. So hopefully he comes back after week 11. Okay, so moving on to the inside linebackers. We'll start here with Jerome Baker. He's been a bit of a disappointment. I read, for most of the offseason and training camp, and you could see it in the preseason. He just really looked the part. He was doing a great job rushing the passer, great job in coverage. He was doing a great job, fitting his run fits in the running game. He really was looking like, the leader of the defense. But, he's done a great job leading the defense in terms of, getting the play out, because he is, controlling the headset. He is relaying the plays from Patrick Graham. But just in terms of production, he has looked a little lost out there, and you wonder if this rebuild season is weighing on Jerome Baker a little bit. Sam McGuavin really hasn't been great either. Same as Jerome Baker. He dominated in training camp and had his moments in preseason, but the guy has just been getting absolutely dominated by blocks. He just can't get off blocks to save his life, and overall hasn't done a great job. Raekwon McMillan, unlike Baker and McGuavin, Raekwon has been tremendous, especially the past 2 weeks. He's been graded out as the best linebacker in the league, but I'm not sure if that's true. He's no Bobby Wagner, but he definitely has improved, in pass coverage, and against the run, he's as good as it gets. He really is elite against the run. He just got a real knack for just finding the ball carrier and getting those run stops. So hopefully he can continue to develop as an all-around linebacker and a guy that can be around for many years to come. He's a young guy, 23 years old. Alrighty, so moving on to the secondary. We'll start here with corner. Xavier Howard. Xavier Howard, the first 2 weeks of the season, he was exactly what we've come to expect. A true shutdown corner that just, didn't allow any, passes in his vicinity. He was great, especially when they put him on Marquise Brown against the Ravens. He was killing us, Marquise Brown. He had caught 2 touchdowns and was just absolutely killing the secondary. But once Xavier Howard was on him, he just shut him down completely and almost just caught a ball for an interception and just was great in that game. And against the Patriots, he was pretty solid and did his job. He was very solid and he did his job. But week 3 against the Cowboys, he really struggled against Amari Cooper. I mean, Amari Cooper, he may be the best route runner in the league and was just getting the best of Xavier Howard, just consistently. And I think that Xavier Howard, he just really got frustrated, and maybe the rebuilding / tanking season was weighing on him, and just he just got frustrated with the team, because we were struggling in the second half like we have the last 2 weeks. But Xavier, I really think he can bounce back next week against the Redskins, and I think he'll continue to perform as one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Now, Eric Rowe, he's been just pretty awful all season, just giving up completions consistently every week. He's a great athlete. He tackles well. I really love the way he tackles. I mean, he tackles like a safety. I mean, he might be better, converting to, a free safety role where he can just cover and just roam the field and, do those kind of things. But just as a corner, he's been just absolutely terrible, just giving up way too much space, giving up chunk yards, and just being all around terrible. Hopefully, just Eric Rowe can improve. Jamal Wilts, we really haven't seen much of him. He's been injured, I think, the past 2 weeks, but he's a guy that I like. I think that he's tough, he's physical, and I really think that he knows what he's doing out there. He's a guy that, Brian Flores, really likes. He brought him over from the Patriots practice squad, and I just love the way he plays. He plays with great physicality. Chris Lamons, he has given up plays here and there, but just overall, he's been solid. I mean, I haven't got much of an opinion on him. I haven't really, studied him, out there on the field. Johnson Batamosi, he's great on special teams. He's a good special teams player. He has had his moments on defense, especially he had a great stop. I think it was against the Cowboys, and he was covering a tight end, and he just did a great job with the open field tackle and stopping the third down conversion. That was great to see. But Batamosi, I mean, he really is. He really should strictly just be a special teams player. Okay, so on to safety. Rashad Jones, he was injured for much of the season. He finally came back last week, and he's a talented guy. And at 31 years old, I really think he moves around the field really well. He's a great tackler, but he really had a bonehead play against the Chargers where, he was defending, Phillip Rivers like he was going to run for the first down and just left a wide open lane for Phillip Rivers to just step up, and he threw a strike to, I can't remember who it was, a receiver, and they just waltzed into the end zone, and that was just a terrible play to see from Rashad Jones, but he definitely helped the defense. I mean, his best asset is his tackling ability and just his athleticism out there in the field, and He's also does a great job covering tight ends, and that's something that we definitely need. Bobby Mccain, he was pretty solid, at free safety. He didn't play incredibly well the first couple of weeks, and he definitely stepped up against the Cowboys. He had an interception, and you could just tell that he was getting much more comfortable with his new role, and he was playing well. But now he's got a shoulder injury. I think it's a separated shoulder, and he's going to be out for a while. So Bobby McCain, I got no idea how long he's going to be out. Stephen Parker, he looks like a talented player. He's not a world beater. He's not a war daddy or anything like that. But he's been somewhat solid. Okay, so on to special teams. Kicker. Jason Sanders just hasn't been as consistent as he was last year. I think he's missed 3 field goals at this point, and he's missed 1 or 2 extra points. But Jason Sanders is really got to lift his game, and I'm hoping he can bounce back. Matt Hawk, or Hack, whatever it is, the punter. I mean, he's been solid. He's been doing his job. He's been punting well. I'm sure he could do better in spots, but he's doing his job as a punter. He's not the best in the league by any stretch of the matter, but yeah, like I said, just doing his job. So that's it. That's the whole team. This video is way longer than I wanted. I thought it would be on 40 minutes here, but we're looking like we're around 36 minutes. But that's the whole team, the quarterback, all the way through to punter. And that's just currently how I see the team at the moment. Let me know in the comment section, if you agree with my takes. Be sure to, give me your opinions. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, fins up, baby.